And good afternoon. Well, good morning still, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with you today to discuss HBCUs and the experiences we have all shared. And I have a great panel of women. It's all girls today, ladies. It's Black Girl Magic. And we are here to give you some insight into the experience of HBCUs and to hopefully have some fun as well, because HBCUs, we know how to get down and have a good time. And I am going to let everyone talk about their HBCU a bit just as an introduction. We'll start with Miss Jackie Lawrence at the top. We'll go with you and open us up. Just such a wonderful woman I've known all my life, and so honored to be with her today here. Can you just talk about yourself and where you attended college? I think you're muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. And we have a tagline at Benedict. BC, we put the BC in HBCU.
Oh, so, I love it.
That's one of our taglines. And of course, I went to Benedict in 1958. And it was 5 of us that we left. We met together in 8th grade, and we went through Benedict. We graduated. And so the 5 of us were together all the way. That made my experience very well. Benedict was sort of a family-oriented school, so I felt very comfortable. And I'll start off with that.
Excellent. That's a great starting point. Next, we have on my screen at the top, Yolanda Copeland.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yolanda Copeland, and yes, I attended Tuskegee University. It's the college that is rich with history. I love it. One of the best decisions that I made. I graduated Tuskegee University in 1988 with a degree in social work. And I've stayed in the profession of social work because of my foundation that I received at Tuskegee University.
Excellent, excellent. And next we have Patricia Cummings.
Hello, everyone. And again, I am Patricia Cummings, and I attended the Albany State College. At that time, it was Albany State College, but it's Albany State University now. And my years there were from 1969 until 1973. And I thought that I was grown, and that was the best time of my life at that time.
Musically, that was a great time. Y'all were listening to some awesome music. Y'all had the Parliament and Funkadelic on the yard, and
yes, Michael Jackson.
Yes,
when they were little boys.
Yeah, I remember reading a lot about the musical infusion there during that time period. Wonderful. We'll have to definitely hear more from you about that. And
okay.
So, yeah, because I mean, I love music, and music is in the fabric of the HBCU experience, definitely. So we would love to hear more about that as well. And let's go to Linda Johnson now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I attended Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia from '83. I enjoyed my experience there. My experience at Morris Brown prepared me for my professional career, which I worked 30 years and retired. And Morris Brown is the only institution in Georgia that was founded by African Americans, solely for African American students.
And Mo Brown is doing really well. We're proud that
Yes.
they just recently were their application for accreditation was accepted. So I have a friend who's really working hard with that, and we're just so proud to see that Mo Brown is back. And you all have produced some really key people. You know, Mo Brown is just a big, big factor in the HBCU family, and we're so glad you're all doing well. We've all had experiences like that where our schools have been in trouble. But we're glad to have everybody doing pretty well right now. Now,
back in April, we should get our final word in April.
Okay.
2 months from now, that we will receive our full accreditation back again.
We are claiming it. Victory.
That's right.
Now we'll have Miss Charmaine Ivy from Payne College. PC one time, isn't it?
PC one time. Hi, ladies. How are you guys doing? I graduated from Payne College in 2008 with a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Social Psychology. A native of Augusta. So just enjoying it. Home of the Lions, founded in 1882. So just making sure that we get our accreditations and making sure that everyone support our HBCUs and that type of thing. I know Sherry's going to throw some more stuff into that, so I don't want to take.
And that's where we're headed now, to Sherry Cofer Tutt. And Sherry and I have been on several panels. We did one through StreamYard before, and we also did Clubhouse. We talked about the HBCU experience. So Sherry, want to talk a little bit about yourself and your schools?
PC one time. Okay.
PC. Yes.
My name is Sherry Tutt. I am a native of Augusta. I have to backtrack because my actual college experience started at Voorhees. So I love to say I was Voorhees made, but I am a college graduate of Payne College in Augusta, Georgia. I have a degree in communications. I graduated in 1997. I have had a very successful career in pharmaceutical sales for 20 plus years. I'm dating myself, 21 years, coming up on 22 this year, actually. But I have also been a successful serial entrepreneur also outside of my career in pharmaceutical sales. And I see my girlfriend over there, Angela, smiling because she has a very similar experience as mine. But I will say that I have been very passionate many years for the preservation of HBCUs. Dee and I, she's correct, we've served on numerous panels. We'll rediscuss the importance of preserving the legacy of our schools. So, like I said, I'm PC, representing Payne College, and I will pass the mic back to you, Dee.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much. And next we have Marva Tutt, Dr. Marva Tutt, ladies and gentlemen. Just talk a bit about, your experience and where you attended school. I know where you went, but go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Marva Tutt. I am a 1997 graduate of South Carolina State University, home of the Bulldogs and the Bulldog tenacity. And it's funny that I went to South Carolina State because I had only been on the campus like one time. And I was looking in a college manual and, looked at everything. I said, this is where I'm going to school. And my dad was like, are you sure? Out of state fees? And he just went through all this. I was like, nope, I'm going. And I went in the first semester, I had Failure to Thrive. And the next semester I went back and fell in love and have not regretted that decision ever since. I have been in education for many years. Like Sherry said, I'm aging myself. So this is like 23, I think. And I've served in several roles, and I always go back to my HBCU experience. That was just a springboard for leadership, and so I'm happy to be on the panel today.
Excellent. And now we have the awesome Miss Angela Black to talk about her beautiful, wonderful school. My sister is a graduate of the same school, and we see it right across your chest there. Go right ahead and talk about your school and experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Dee. So I'm Angela Black, originally from Augusta. I attended Spelman College from 1989 to 1993. I majored in biology, and Spelman was founded in 1881 as a school for freed female slaves, or former slaves. And for me, Spelman really, coming from Augusta, I was sheltered, and Spelman just instilled in me the knowledge that as a Black woman, there's nothing I cannot do. And it just gave me that empowerment to be whatever it is I want to be. And just like Sherry said, I've been successful at pharmaceutical sales and customer service and all of those different things over the past 25 years. But throughout those years, I've also been an entrepreneur, just like Sherry. And it's just because I think going to Spelman, it just gave me the empowerment and the tenacity to keep pushing and to keep finding that niche of what I think is the best fit for me entrepreneur-wise. So I also wanted to say that I'm not the only person in my family that went to a Black college. My father went to Payne, and then he also went to South Carolina State. And then I have an aunt who went to Morris Brown. So HBCUs run in our family. And it's just, it's a decision that I made that I wish if I could have gone to Spelman for grad school, I would have. Mm-hmm. But it was a 4-year institution, so I couldn't do that. But
they kick you out after the 4th year. Go, spread the wings, fly. Excellent. And I will tell a little bit about myself. I'm wearing my big F. I don't know if y'all can see it. For Fisk University, I am a proud Fiskite. And I attended Fisk for 4 years. And like Angela, I came from a long lineage of HBCU grads. My cousins went to Morehouse and Clark, and my sister's a Spelman grad. And so going to an HBCU was instilled in me at a young age. My relative is the great author Frank Yerby, who attended Payne undergrad, and he went on to finish his master's degree at Fisk University. And my Aunt Dorothy thought that would be a great place for me. I wanted to go to Howard. My mom said no, because I would get up there and get in trouble, I guess. So I babysat for Dr. Denise Weston and Dr. Denise Weston Smith and Dr. Roger Smith, and Dr. Denise is a Fisk grad, and I just thought she was just the best thing since sliced bread. And her friends would come into town. They were all Fiskites. And I wanted to be like them. I remember looking up at those beautiful ladies who were all just so brilliant, and I wanted to be like them. I also wanted to be a rebel like Nikki Giovanni, who went to Fisk. So I did all of my research, and every Black college seems like they have reference Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who is a Fisk grad. And I thought that since he was the foundation for a lot of our education, at HBCU, that I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And of course, John Lewis attended Fisk. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson attended Fisk. Just a long line of great people, and I wanted to follow in their footsteps. And so that's one thing about HBCUs. We can start off with this. And if anyone's watching and you have comments, place the comments, and we will definitely shout out everybody. We have some shouts so far. Leon Maven, Fort Valley State in the house. Corey Rogers, the awesome Corey, get up for the Bulldogs. You know, he went to South Carolina State like Marva. He said, everybody get up. Thea Rouse Coleman, I'm assuming Spelman, she's the blue. Hey, hey, Mackie, familiar faces, great job, ladies. Thank you. Corey Gibson, Slank, hey. And Corey Rogers also reminds us that my cousin Frank Yerby, was Uncle Frank, taught at FAMU and Southern University. Francine Scott, good morning from Super District 9. Good to see you and congratulations on your win. And oh, yes, we know you went to Morehouse. Mackie went to Morehouse. Marla Choice, my cousin, PC one time, and Elena Rouse Scott, loved the HBCU experience, Savannah State. So keep the comments coming. We will recognize you. Let's talk about briefly. I know right now HBCUs are in vogue because of Vice President Kamala Harris, but there was a time when we weren't hearing much about HBCUs. Susan Kofer, that's Sherry's mom, popped on. She's paying college in Southern University. Yes. That good food down in Louisiana. But are HBCUs still relevant, do you think? Or is it just a momentarily popular place to go to school now? Who wants to jump in with that one? That's a toughie, a big one. Don't everybody speak up at one time.
I'll start. I know one of the things about Morris Brown, one of the lines in our alma mater was that it's a haven for all hungry souls. So those students who were excelling and those students who were struggling out of high school still had a place that they can call home and still get a good education to prepare them for the career of their choice. So I think HBCUs have always been relevant for our kids to give them a place where a soft place to land, and all of the academic, social, spiritual, all the support that they need in order to thrive, not only just to survive, but to thrive in this world. And I think HBCUs will always have that relevance.
Definitely. Anyone else? Yolanda, would you like to?
Absolutely. I agree that HBCU has been around since the 1800s and it's still relevant because we need to support each other when no other industry and no other institution will. And it's because of our historically Black colleges who not only has helped to shape us and give us that foundation, it has helped to shape a lot of other noteworthy historians along the way. So we still need to support our HBCUs. We're not going anywhere because we still need that foundation. I too have come from a family of strong HBCU members in our family. My father attended Savannah State College. My mother, also a Morris Brown graduate. My sister at Bennett College. We were taught as young children that you attend an HBCU because that is home. And that is how we were introduced. And as long as we keep that in our community, there are going to be young little Black girls and little Black boys who are going to say the same thing. And HBCU means home.
And that's what my son, I was early on taught about HBCUs, and so much so my sister was about 4 years old and maybe 3, and I was 1. We were taking my cousin to enroll at Morehouse, and my mom was the one who took them, and all the family. That was back when, you remember, all the families would go together, like
yes,
a big
I do.
Yeah, you had your own entourage when you went off to college.
That's right.
So I always tell people I got naked at Morehouse. They had to change my diaper at Morehouse. So
that's exactly right.
My sister, grew up saying she was going to go to Morehouse because that's what she knew. And my cousin sort of redirected her. You're going to go to Spelman. You can't go to Morehouse. But, I do that with my son, and so do my cousins. It's, Morehouse, and he plays golf. So they're instilling that in him. And that's what we still have to do. Miss Jackie, can you talk about that? You have 2 children who went on to HBCUs as well. Awesome children, as a matter of fact.
Yes. And I failed to speak in the beginning about Benedict College because Benedict College never turns any student around. When I entered Benedict in 1954, my sister was graduating from Benedict in 1954. So actually I had no choice but to go there. And the first college grad finished from Georgia State, which is now Savannah State University. Mm-hmm. So the thing I like about that is that when a child couldn't pay the tuition, Dr. Bacos would find a job for them on the yard. He'd have them raking the leaves. No SAT will keep a child from going to Benedict College.
Wow.
So I am very proud to say I am a proud BC Tiger.
That's right. Let's talk about your awesome children who went to Tuskegee.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So we keep it in the panel.
Being the first to talk on the panel, I left out some things. But yes, I'm very proud of my children, Sophia and Bobby. Sophia graduated Tuskegee in 1982. No, 86. And Bobby graduated in 1990. And they're doing well. And I'm very proud of them. And as the others spoke about the colleges, I'm in a background. I got Claflin, South Carolina State, Prairie View, Texas. All of us, we in the HBCU is just implanted in our hearts.
And if you want to see a beautiful campus, venture over to Claflin. It is so nice. We went a couple years ago and did a mini tour, an unofficial tour. My son was like, "This is nice." So beautiful campus. Sherry, you want to jump in too and talk about significance, and then Angela?
Absolutely. So yeah, our schools, like Dee, you and I, we've talked about this. Our schools, they may be in right now, but they've always been relevant. Our schools are those places where our kids can just be themselves. They don't have to worry about the stress of fitting in or trying to feel like, making this a home, because the college is their home. And I think we talked about this a little bit before. You have professors, you have people on the campus who genuinely care for you and want to see you do well. So even on those times when you're struggling, either academically or you've got some personal things going on in your home life, you have people on the campus who genuinely care for you and want to know what's going on. They're your moms and dads away from home. They're the ones making sure you're eating, making sure you come to school and do what you were sent there to do. So that's the difference too. I feel like in HBCUs, it really is a family. I have friends who attended PWIs and they never go back for homecoming. They never go back just for any reason, because when they left, they left. In HBCUs, it feels like home. So you want to go back home every year to see your family, because you've developed those friendships, those relationships, not just with your peers, but also with your teachers. The college president knows who you are. The people in the cafeteria know who you are. The people from the maintenance department know who you are. And these people are happy to see you come back because they want to see the impact that they've had on your life. So yeah, our schools still matter, and I will preach that forever. I too am come from a family where it was always taught that's where you're going to school. And I will say I guess brainwashed my children. They understand that as well. And I tell them, if I have to pay $50, you going to an HBCU. And I mean that. Unless you get a full ride, you going to an HBCU.
All right. That I tell my son that the same thing. He's got a one-track mind, and that's a good thing. Angela.
Yeah, it seems like Sherry and I are on the same page. So I was just going to say the same thing, that how many of us had professors or somebody at our HBCU who took you by the hand and made sure that you were successful? That is something that I think you won't get at larger institutions, because most of our HBCUs are smaller than the PWIs, and the classroom sizes are smaller, and the one-on-one attention from your professors is there that you may not get at a larger institution. And we, our Black professors and provosts and presidents, they all want to see us succeed. So I ran into Dr. Janetta B. Cole probably about 15 years after I graduated. And I know she does not remember my name because there's so many students that she mentored while she was at Spelman. But I ran into her and immediately she embraced me, and she, her how she orates so deep. She says, "Oh, my Spelman sister, it's so good to see you." The woman recognized my face. And this was 15 years later after I graduated. And that just goes to show the love that she had for her students. Now, when I left Spelman, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, which was, I went from a school that had 4,000 Black women to 25,000 predominantly white, predominantly male institution. But Spelman prepared me for that because it gave me the strength of character as a Black woman to know that I can succeed in any environment. And it's almost like when you go to an HBCU, you have that pride that they instill in you to carry throughout your life. And I don't think that you can get that anywhere else. So I definitely believe that HBCUs are more relevant now because of the revolution that we're seeing as Black people, and the fact that we are speaking out more. This Generation Z that we have, my two children included, are very outspoken, and they are embracing their Blackness more than I think we were allowed to, even publicly back in the day. And they're pushing back. And so I think HBCUs are even more relevant for them now, as opposed to what some people are saying, that HBCUs are not as relevant. I think it's even more relevant.
Can I piggyback on what she said about the giving back? Because I have a mentor that reminded me that because of my foundation and the support that I received from HBCU, it is my duty to also give back from what was given to me. And that is the reason why I decided to become an adjunct professor at Payne College, HBCU, because it was my duty and responsibility as an HBCU grad to give back on the lessons that I received. And that was one of the reasons why I now teach at Payne College.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I was going to say also the connection is like we're one big family, HBCU family, because you can have someone from one university, but they have a background or connection to another. When Angela was talking, I thought about Dr. Janetta B. Cole. When she was 15, she went to college. Where did she go? Fisk University before transferring to Oberlin. So when I was on a panel, and I moderated a panel when I lived in Memphis, and she was one of the speakers, and she says, "Oh, my Fisk University sister." so we all have those connections. We're intertwined. And I was looking at Corey Rogers' comment. He said his grandparents went to Allen University. His parents went to Benedict. His aunts and cousins went to South Carolina State, FAMU, Savannah State, Johnson C. Smith, Howard University. And, when you go on the yard and you see people, you'll tell them you're from Augusta. Oh, I know such and such. There's always this connection. There's always family. So it's interesting how we're all intertwined in some way, and that makes it even, more special. Anyone else want to talk about that?
Yes, I would like to say something. I am originally from Vidalia, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of Vidalia onions.
Yes.
In my hometown, I did not know about college or HBCUs or whatever, but the teachers at that time were they meant something. They were somebody. You looked up to your teachers at school. And we used to call the teachers proper because they would speak, correct English and whatever. But I knew I wanted to go to school, and I had my oldest sister. She went to a business college at Fisk, somewhere in Fisk. But she was so much older than I that I really didn't know and didn't put up, didn't know how to deal with that at that time because I wasn't familiar with the colleges and whatever. But anyway, when I graduated from high school, my first choice was Morris Brown, and then Savannah State, and then Albany State. So I would like to say Albany State chose me because they were the ones that responded to my application before the others did. So that's where I went, to Albany State. And it wasn't a beautiful campus at that time, but I guess it was for the people at that time. There was a road that went right straight through the campus, and that was our campus. So, but over the years, so now you should go to Albany State and you will look at it now and say, wow, this is a beautiful campus. It's so beautiful now. I didn't like it at first because of that, because the advertisement was saying that this was the city by the river. The Flint River was right beside it. But then when I got there, I didn't see the river. It was just because you had to walk to the river. But anyway, I learned to like it. And out of all of the colleges that I have attended, which were not HBCU schools, Albany State is nearest and dearest to my heart. And I have all my little friends here. See, my friend. This is my diploma. And then one of my other dear hearts right here. And here's another. Okay. But anyway, I think it has always been relevant because during the time after slavery, it was a place for us to go to learn when the other schools and colleges would not allow us to come to their schools. And then, and I think it's still relevant because of the fact is I agree with Sherry and with Ms. Spellman. I can't remember your name right now because I don't see it. Ms. Black, right? Okay, and it helped us to feel like we belong somewhere, and that and the professors look after you and make sure that you learn while you were there. And I have two sons, like we were talking earlier before we started, two sons that attended Fort Valley. So we have a rivalry here. My husband and I went to Albany State, and they went to Fort Valley. And then our oldest son attended Morehouse at least for 1 year. And but they're all doing well. And so therefore the colleges help us to be more of who we are expected to be. And I'm very proud of my Albany State.
Well, you touched on something that Sherry and I talked about, the couple of panels that we've been on and we've done, the aesthetics. We often get caught up in the aesthetics of our universities. And like you, right. When I went to Fisk, I was used to running around at Spelman and Morehouse and, you know, seeing these beautiful new buildings. And when I went to Fisk, that was founded in 1866, the Jubilee Singers went to Europe and the Queen gave them money to start building. And they built Jubilee Hall, which was this old monolithic looking building. And I was like, what is this? This, you know, and it grew on me though. And it became such a home feeling and so beautiful, just the old buildings. And I could say, you know, this building was erected in, you know, 1870. And you know, that was awesome to me. And I didn't want a beautiful campus anymore that had the new buildings. I embraced my old buildings and loved it. And I still look at Jubilee Hall and I get chills because of what she stands for, what she means. By the way, I was Miss Jubilee Hall year. But, you know, I love that. And a lot of our kids are still looking at the aesthetics and they want new and the buildings, but it's beyond the aesthetics. Talk about that briefly, Sherry, because I know we've mentioned that before.
So, yeah, my sons, I remember years ago through a church youth group, my sons went to a game at Fort Valley, and they just had the best time. They came home, they were bragging about the bands, the all the stuff they were able to buy, and it was just such a good time. Now, granted, before they went to this game, they had been somewhat brainwashed by their teachers at school that UGA was just the best thing ever. So that's all they talked about, Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. So when they went to this Fort Valley game and they came home, and that next day we were talking, I said, now, you know, if you go to a Georgia game, it's not going to be the same like a Fort Valley game, like any HBCU game. You're not going to have the same music. You're not going to have the same, just everything. You know, it's just different. And so I also let them know, they said, well, you know, when they're here and they've gone with me on Payne's campus and they turn their nose up and they talk about the old buildings and this campus is not this, and they go to the cafeteria and they talk about the food and everything. I said, you know what? You got to get past that part of it. Okay, our schools don't have the generational wealth that some of the bigger institutions have. You know, so they can't afford to you know, to have the aesthetics, you know, the nicer dorms. You know, I tell them about how when I was at Voorhees, and we went to the shower and we had that community shower, they thought that was the worst thing ever. You know, you didn't have your own shower in your room, and you didn't have your own phone in the room. And I tell them about the hall phone.
The hall phone.
No idea what that is. So yeah, our kids sometimes, because of the life that we live now, our kids get exposed to certain things and they think college is going to be the same way, the dorms and having your own suite, and that kind of thing. So, we've got to make our kids see the big picture. We've got to make them get past the fact that, you may not have, a suite. You may have a room with the bed and a roommate,
Right.
Got to get them to understand, it's bigger than that. What you get is a family environment.
But did you have to yell flushing if somebody was in the shower?
No, but if I did not take my shower before 7:30, I was going to take a cold shower. So we just got to remind our kids that this will create in you a resilience to be able to just take on the world. Honestly, it creates in you something bigger than just having the best looking school.
Right.
It's a family, so yeah, our kids do get kind of caught up and then you visit the Georgias, you visit Georgia Southern, and then you go to Payne or you go to Benedict. My son visited Benedict and he was like, okay, it's okay, but we've got to get them to realize and keep instilling them that it's bigger than that. It really is.
My daughter went to a school in Ohio. She went the farthest away from home. Not like the boys, stayed close at home. But she wanted to go to an HBCU school. And but she went where the scholarship money was at that time, So, and but she still wants to go to an HBCU. Now, back when we would go to homecoming or whatever, we would sit on Albany State side, and if we were at Fort Valley, we would sit on Albany State side and cheer for Albany State. And then when we go to a Fort Valley game, we would sit on Fort Valley side and cheer for Albany State. So that's why I said we have that rivalry in our home. But it was fun. But it's just loving the bands and everything. When we came on the beginning of this program, that beautiful band that was there, I just love the brass section, because when you hear those tubas and those trumpets, you just know you're on a college campus band, and you're going to see some high stepping, marching and everything. So it's just a fun, way to go to college.
Marva disappeared. I was about to
one of the things that
Marva.
That was one of the things that I originally was going to go to Albany State. My mom was a diehard Albany State College alumni.
Right.
And she drugged me. We went to all of the games. She was a member of the National Association. So wherever she went, Washington, D.C., representing Albany State, I was there. Mm-hmm. So it was a given that that's where I was going to end up. Well, that year, Morris Brown played Albany State for homecoming. And when Morris Brown band hit the field, that was a wrap. I was in love with Morris Brown's band. I was not musically inclined. I didn't play an instrument or anything. But Morris Brown, like all other HBCUs, used their band as a marketing tool. Mm-hmm. So I ended up there, and I loved it ever since. Someone mentioned earlier about home. HBCU is a home for us. Mm-hmm. No matter what campus I went on, HBCUs, because of our Greek affiliation, there's a plot on every campus. So no matter what HBCU you attend or you go to or you visit, I still feel at home because of that Greek connection. So I can go to Albany State, I can go to Southern, I can go to Fort Valley, and you still feel that sense of homeness, even though you didn't attend that particular HBCU, but because of that connection. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Can I piggyback on what you were saying? Because I agree with you. When you go to other HBCUs, you feel that same connection. But even if I meet someone and they tell me they attended an HBCU, we have that camaraderie. We feel like we went through something that was similar, you know, and we had similar experiences. And it's almost like a greater fraternity of such that, you know, when you meet someone else who went to an HBCU and you have that. So for me, having gone to Spelman in and of itself is a sorority. It's a sisterhood. And no matter where I go in the world, if I have a flat tire in the middle of the night, we have a directory of Spelman graduates in every state all over the country. If I have a flat tire and I look in that directory and call up a Spelman sister and say, hey, Spelman sister, I know you don't know who I am, but I need your help. She would help me just as I would do for her. And I think it's the same for most HBCUs. We have that family connection with other graduates that I don't think you're going to get from a PWI.
Yes.
And outside of Spelman, I have that with my Morehouse brothers, but then I also have that with my Delta Sigma Theta sorority sisters. So I have a much larger family as a result of being in that HBCU and being in that sorority as well. So yeah, I agree with you with that.
But I also want to say this. We talk about HBCUs and their relevance in our community, and right now we got the Kamala effect. So Howard's their application rate is up like 200% or something like that. But we can't forget about the smaller HBCUs as well. You know, we have our HBCU Ivy Leagues, and everybody calls them off, and I don't want to offend anybody by not calling your school. But we have to think about the smaller ones too, like your Philander Smiths in Arkansas, your Voorhees over in Denmark. You know, in Augusta, we know Payne, but in New York, they may not know Payne College. But we have to support those as well. There's some smaller ones in North Carolina. We have to keep those in mind too, because they also have a legacy, and they also have to keep running. And if we keep naming the same ones over and over and pushing our kids to go to these same HBCUs and forget about the smaller ones, they lose their legacy, they lose their funding, and then they're closing down and they go into financial trouble and stuff like that. So it's important to remember all the HBCUs, not just the ones that we prefer because they may be a better one than another one. So let's keep that in mind too when we're talking about HBCUs.
And you know with kids one-on-one, Marva, and I wanted to talk with you about that. And do you get a lot of your students coming to you inquiring about HBCUs?
Well, actually, when I worked at Laney, a little bit more because they had a little bit more of a college and career readiness focus there. But out at Hbcu, we're still, I got a new job now. So we're still in the process. We're still in the process of trying to get them in the mode of going to college.
Period. Right.
Yes. So that's something that I've been seeing in high school, just in general, for that some of them not interested in going to college, period. So that's a whole nother panel.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother panel.
You know, a lot of kids are going to trade schools now, which is fine, but
or work,
or work, right? Or the military, which is always good. One thing that we have to also do is I try to direct kids to the HBCU that will fit them, not just because you have a popular name. What career? I know a lot of students reach out to me about journalism and communications. You know, I went to Fisk because of English, honestly. I knew I wanted to be in TV news, but I wanted the English literature background that cousin Frank Yerby got. And so I knew, Nikki Giovanni, W.E.B. Du Bois. I said, okay, this is for me. But I try to steer kids, communications. You need to check out Howard. Clark has a decent program. I wish they would get a little more robust with it. Morehouse has a semi-program, but I tell kids, instead of looking for the top tier, top name or whatever, find one that goes in along with your field, your desire. And there are so many. We have HBCUs with some awesome programs out there. And like Tuskegee with veterinary science, I love talking to kids who want to be a vet. Hey, check out Tuskegee. Amazing program. Is anyone else doing that, steering kids that way?
Well, Dee, I wanted to say some piggyback on what you're saying and what Marva said. You and I've discussed too. One reason I'm passionate about HBCUs, there are some students out there that struggle academically, but still have the desire to go to school. So there are a few HBCUs that will accept students with a 2.0. And like Albany State, I think, has this program. They have a program that even if you have low SAT scores and you have a low GPA, you can come in that summer and do remedial courses to get ready. It's like a college readiness program. So that's another reason I push out HBCUs, because there are some students out there that have the desire to go to college. They may not have the 3.0.
Right.
They may not even have a 2.5, but there are about 8 HBCUs, and I have a list in my phone, I got to look it up, that will accept students with a 2.0. And that's why our schools are relevant, because if those schools close, then those kids won't be able to get into the bigger institutions, not just the HBCUs, but they won't be getting into the Georgia Southerns, the Georgias, you know, some of the bigger schools, because once those schools close, that door closes for those kids. So yeah, I think it is important. Yeah, we're mentioning our big schools, but I know I haven't forgotten about the Paynes, the Voorhees. These were the schools that gave me the opportunity. I will just be transparent. I was a good student, but I was lazy. I was a procrastinator. I did just enough to get by, and I will admit that. And so those were the schools that gave me an opportunity. So I don't want those smaller schools to close because of that.
Right. And here people are naming some Claflins on the move. Corey says, Keisha Brown Martin, thank you. She said North Carolina A&T State University has an awesome engineering and business program. They really, really do. And that's one of the larger schools with that engineering and business. Both of those departments are really good. Francine Scott says her 17-year-old grandson lives in Seattle, Washington, and can't wait for his HBCU experience. Already named 2, Claxton in South Carolina, maybe it's Claflin. And Gerald Mackey, he said HBCUs are desperately needed in this day and time, but the costs need management to ensure more of our core people can attend and obtain the experience. The experience cannot be measured. Dollars will continue to be big barriers for HBCU attendance, which most colleges struggle for today. And he is very right, so right. However, there are organizations like the MacArthur Foundation and different organizations that are now earmarking money for HBCUs. Our students need to tap into them. And, you know, Payne College, I know that you all have, you all have gotten a lot of support from various nonprofits as well.
Correct. And I was going to say also, the big thing is the pipeline. When I was coming through, one thing that made me interested in Payne is not only my dad's shop being in the backyard, I had a cousin. Not only that, we had the PEP MSCT program, the NASA program. We also had Upward Bound. You had the NYSP program. So getting your kids prepared or putting them in those programs in the summer so that they can be educated and fully ready during the fall or the actual spring, and then actually gaining that experience for being on college. And also, like I said, we went from middle school to high school. Miss Bell always instilled in us, well, you know, if you don't go to college, you're going to go to military. Or if you know, it was no option. You know, she just made you make sure that you're going to do something in your life. So I actually admire her as well as, like you said, you know, you have that family foundation. And so, like you said, you have different institutions. My former boss, Mr. Ellis Albright with the CSRE Business League, wants to make sure that students are aware of entrepreneurship as well as careers. You have different banks, Bank of America, you have those type of things that are influencing and putting their money into the colleges.
Right.
So that students will be educated and they have, you know, scholarships and those type of things.
Yeah, it's up to us and up to parents overall to steer the kids in the right direction to look at these programs. And Yolanda, as a social worker in the school system in McDuffie County, are you finding yourself having to do that or stepping outside of your traditional role in order to, you know, steer the kids that way?
Absolutely. Someone mentioned earlier about making sure that we're steering our children into remembering the importance of HBCUs, because as a school social worker, one of the things is to make sure that our children have a foundation and we're prepared to see beyond, especially when you're in a smaller town, seeing beyond that small town. So what you have to do is to make sure that they see something that is available, because you went there, then maybe I can too. And we talked about helping our young people to not look at the aesthetics of the big universities with the modern technology, but it's that small campus that have that love and have that alumni association. We haven't talked much about alumni associations. That alumni association that's going to support you. I know our Tuskegee Alumni Association that I'm a member of, we go out of our way to help any child that's from Augusta, Georgia, who's going to Tuskegee. We're going to support you from freshman year until you graduate. That is one of the purposes of making sure we get you there, but to support you.
Right.
So as African Americans, in order to help a lot of our HBCUs that are fledgling, we have to financially support not only our HBCU, but all of our HBCUs. And to make sure that not only Augusta knows the importance, but all over the United States, that we preach that our existence matters.
Yeah, you're right. And that's one thing I loved about Fisk is like their Chicago Alumni Club is humongous, New York, LA, and they supported those students and they still do. And I help out, I'm on the Alumni Association, and we have Kim Whitley, the actress, who is a Fisk graduate, and she's always on Tom Joyner. She would always talk about this. And she also helps in supporting students who go to Fisk. So that's really key. And that transitions us into giving back to our schools. And that's, joining are we all members of our alumni association? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And corporate giving. Sherry, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mentioned, I know during the pandemic, a lot of us probably have been ordering on Amazon. I know I have. So now Amazon has a program, it's called Amazon Smiles. So if you can link your Amazon account, every time you order, a certain percentage will go towards your school or whatever nonprofit, but I've got mine linked to give back to Payne. So every time I order, a certain percentage gives back to my school. So, a lot of times we always think that, I've got to give these big dollars back. I got to give thousands of dollars back to make a difference. You don't. This year, I have served the last 3 years on the Payne College Alumni National Association board. And this year I am on the board again. And so as an officer, so I stress the importance, even if you don't give but $20 a month, we've got to give back to our schools, because we cannot depend on the government to do it, because we know they won't. They don't care about our schools like we do. So I challenge everybody on the panel today, reach out to, your friends who have graduated from HBCUs, yourself, start giving back. Like I said, even if you don't do but $20 or $10 a month, that little bit will help our schools. We got to support our schools.
We do a class competition. And so we give every month or whatnot. Spelman, I know you all do it as well. We do the class competition to see which class gives the most money, and that's very beneficial. And it also helps with the accreditation. When the governors of like SACs, when they look at that, the contributions from alums, that really bodes well for the university.
I think Ms. Lawrence wants to say something.
Yes, she wants to say something. Yes.
Yes. I want to thank you, Marva, for making the point about the small schools. The Augusta chapter, I'm president of the alumni. And I must say, out of 52 alumni chapters, Augusta remains in the top 10. And we've been in there for decades. And, I'd like to give a shout out to our alums here, because they do, we make a goal, we challenge each other. If one is going to do a 5,000, they're going to challenge the other. And so we work like that in competition. So for the last 6 years, Benedict have met their goal of $1 million. This is the sixth that we have reported as the overall alumni $1 million club. So I just want to bring that point in, because Benedict was always considered small. Nobody knew anything about Benedict, and I listening to you young people talk about your schools. That now we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're coming along with you. So I just make that point.
And what helped also,
Ms. Lawrence, I'm gonna come visit you because I want my son to talk to you about Benedict.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The alumni is so important.
It is.
When we lost our credit back in 2002, I believe, for 18, 19 years, if we did not have strong alumni chapters all over the United States to support Morris Brown, the school would have folded. It would have folded. So it's on the backs of our alumni chapters that Morris Brown has been able to sustain itself for the past 20 years. And our president, Dr. James, gave a challenge over our homecoming weekend. And the alumni raised a little bit over $500,000 over a 3-day weekend. And that just shows you the strength of alumni supporting our institution. So, yeah, I agree with you. We have got to support our institution. And the alumni is so important for our HBCUs.
And we're the only way it's pretty much going to survive if we keep making sure our schools are in the news and our schools are out there on social media or whatever instruments and tools we can use to gain notoriety for our schools, keeping them on the minds of people, and then they'll give back. But it's up to the alumni. It's no secret that Fisk was in dire straits back in the 70s and didn't really get back on its feet until probably the late 80s. But it took a long time. The alumni and students were going out to the streets, Jefferson Street. They were actually collecting money in cans to make sure that the bills were paid. So it's on our students and alumni to make sure. Linwood Scott said he wanted to touch on the subject of supporting the smaller HBCUs. We need to support them monetarily, as we're talking about. He says, as was mentioned, a lot of our schools don't run in the generational wealth that these major colleges do. And that is so true. People always ask, well, why don't you talk about Northwestern, where you got your master's degree? Northwestern's doing just fine. They don't have any problems. And I make sure that I do talk about Northwestern, but they don't need my mentions. They don't even need my money. They are doing just fine. My worry is Fisk University. I'm grateful for my master's degree from Northwestern, and I worked really hard for it, blood, sweat, and lots of tears. But Fisk is the one that really needs the attention. Who else wants to talk about that a little bit?
Albany State has an alumni association here too in Augusta as well, and we have been meeting. The meetings have been held at the Augusta Mini Theater. Yeah. Tyrone Butler and Judy Butler are there, and they're strong supporters. And we encourage other Albany State alumni to send. If you can't come to the meetings, just send your money.
There you go. The meetings, money matters too.
Right. And while I'm talking, I was looking on the internet and I found this. Home Depot has a Retool Your School program, and they are supporting 30 colleges, HBU colleges, and they're going to give millions of dollars to those colleges to help improve their campuses or whatever. So if you want to find more about it, just go to Retool Your School programs and look for Home Depot. And the voting is starting now. So if you want to go in there, you can want to vote for your college. Make sure that they get the monies that they need.
Yeah, Fisk has won a couple of years. We have strategy. I'm not going to talk about our strategy, but we're in it now. We're duking it out with all these schools, but we've won, and it's a great program. Angela?
I wanted to mention corporate matching. So just check with the companies that you work for to see if they match any donations that you make to your schools, because that could double your donation. But also something I'm going to bring up to Spelman. I don't think Spelman's doing this. There are some of the PWIs where you can purchase a plaque to name a classroom after yourself. So it would be like the Angela Black classroom or something. And you pay like, $2,500 or $5,000 for that plaque to say that this is the Angela Black lecture hall or lecture room or whatever.
Wow.
We do that on larger scales. Like, of course, we have the Cosby building and things like that. But at our school, our first freshman dorm, the dorm that you lived in, is very special to us. So I could see us alumni wanting to commemorate the first room that you lived in with a plaque. I could see myself, I would pay to have my name on there, and other people would pay. That's another way to raise money. And I'm just suggesting that so that all of you can take that back to your schools as a possibility of a way to raise money, because I know the PWIs are doing it. I'm not sure how many of our smaller HBCUs are doing that, but I think that's
a good idea. That's a great one. Because Jubilee Hall, room 301, I could see it with my name on it. I would love that. The biggest room. I would love that. Anyone else have any ideas to help generate funds for our schools? Sherry shared with me, I can't remember the name of it, but it's an app. I'm looking at my phone now where you give, it's HBCU Change. Here it is right here. HBCU Change. And you get, you set up your account or whatever, and you can give spare change to your university. And so I do that often, payday or whatever. I'm like, okay, let me just slide $10 over there to my school, $20. Oh, I have extra. And I've gotten my son sometimes. I'm like, hey, go in my app real quick and put $5 in there for me. So HBCU Change, I think that's a good tool. You don't have to give a whole bunch of money, but some money some money, is good and that counts. So definitely check out that. Any other ideas? Thank you, Corey Slank, for jumping in. He said, paying is family to me. CAU was like Facebook. It was a big family, I guess. Yeah. Let's see. Gerald Mackey, he said, Morehouse College has the best business school. All right now. That's right. But yeah, definitely let us know about any other tools to help our schools. Any amount, matters. And there's nothing too small, because all of our schools started off small. And so, we all needed something. And so we can all give back. Now let's transition into a fun subject. This is all fun, but everybody wants to know about sorority and fraternity. So let's talk about the Greek life. I pledged, I was initiated at Fisk University, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Pi Chapter, which we are celebrating our centennial in April. We will be 100 years old. And I was initiated my sophomore year. The old world was pledged my sophomore year at Fisk, and that was a big part of my collegiate experience. And we have a huge, huge sorority within sorority, and that is Pi Chapter. We are Pi Chapter strong. Anybody else want to talk about the undergraduate life, sorority, fraternity?
I was initiated in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority at Tuskegee University at Gamma Kappa chapter. Love my Gamma Kappa chapter. As a matter of fact, Miss Jackie Lawrence's daughter was the one who initiated me, and I was so proud that my big sister from Augusta, Georgia, had the chance to initiate me, and that reigned supreme for me. And another tidbit was when I was at first, our Miss Tuskegee University was Alexia Daly, who was from Augusta, Georgia, and our SGA president was from Augusta, Georgia, Reginald Blunt. So as a freshman, I remember being on campus with my chest standing out. So when I was initiated in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, that was the best moment in my life at Tuskegee.
Anyone else?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was initiated in undergrad. I did it my senior year, and I wish I had done it earlier because it was an awesome experience. By the time I came along, you had large numbers of people in MIP or whatever, so it wasn't the same closeness as some of those smaller ones, but I did get that experience, and I enjoyed the sisterhood while I was there. And so I have been active in graduate chapter since then. But it was an awesome experience. It was something I knew I wanted to do prior to going to college. My sister had been initiated in Alpha Kappa Alpha before me, so we already knew that was the direction I was going. And then I got to college, and just the Greek life on campus. A lot of these kids don't get to see it because some of the sororities and fraternities are not on the yard, as they say. But it is it's awesome experience. And you build, just like being at an HBCU, that's another set of mentors and friends, and just like, I'm not going to say secret society, but it's still a group of people that you can connect with once you leave the campus. And then when you go back or you meet people, so I went to South Carolina State, I was initiated Beta Sigma. They're like, oh, I'm Beta Sigma such and such and such a year. And, it's all, that's another reunion. So that wasn't a great experience. And then let's not forget the step shows. So homecoming step show, you had to be there. I'm not gonna say forever, but when you graduated, you had to come back and sit on the floor. You could sit, they didn't, you had to sit in the stands when you were undergrad. But when you came back and you were Greek and you were alumni, you got to sit around the floor. It was just awesome experience. So those were some great things. Those were great times. That made college fun too, because we always talk about the money and the classes and how hard it is. But that was the fun part, and that's what made college what it was.
It was hard, but it was fun because when I crossed. It was the last semester of above ground, the way initiation used to be. So I was a part of that, and that was really special because my sister had crossed at Spelman, and I wanted to share in that experience. And ironically, I crossed Pi chapter, and my sister is Mu Pi, so we share that sort of connection. And all of her line sisters took me on as their little sister. And so I remember that specialness of crossing, and they were just really happy. And a lot of them, their moms crossed at Fisk. So we had one big happy family, and that made it really big. And how many were on your line, Marva?
Let's just say a lot. We're going to leave it at that.
Yolanda, how many were on your line?
We had 34 on our line, and our line sisters are still connect with each other. We congratulate each other on birthdays. We still connect. It's been 35 years. Last year was 35 years that I was initiated.
I know mine is coming up 31 years in April. Woo-hoo, getting up there, but we were 44 on our line, and we're still connected in GroupMe. We're chatting every day and connecting from across the way. We've lost one line sister, and that really hurt all of us deeply. So we appreciate each other even more now. Angela?
Yeah, I wanted to share a different perspective because I did not pledge undergrad. I wanted to. I was at Spelman, and being an all-girls institution, you had AKA Delta, Sigma Gamma Rho, Zetas, and a lot of girls wanted to be Deltas, and they only had one line every other year, and they only took about 30 women at a time. So I was not able to make line while I was at Spelman, but I knew that I wanted to be a Delta because the Deltas were SGA. They ruled the SGA. They ran the campus. They were strong women, and that's just what I identified with. So when I got a chance to do it grad chapter, I was able to be initiated with the Augusta Alumni chapter. So I was able to do that. But when I go back for homecoming, even though I didn't pledge at Spelman, I'm still part of the Deltas as a sisterhood, as a sorority as a whole. And I'm able to participate in some of the things that they do in homecoming, even though I'm not Eta Kappa chapter. So I still have some of that camaraderie. I do wish I had gotten a chance to do it in undergrad because it did look like a lot of fun. But I just happened to be in an institution where there are a lot of people that wanted to be Deltas, and they only took 30 every other year, 30 something every other year. So
and that's hard when, a lot of the larger HBCUs, they have a cap on how many they can take. And so that makes it even harder for a lot of women and men. Gerald Mackey wants to shout out Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Nasty Chi Chapter, 1924, and Hard Way, Morehouse. So, yeah,
I want to say too, Angela, I didn't pledge undergrad. I pledged grad chapter because when I was at Payne, it was a few issues going on at that time, so I was not able to pledge during that time. But I was very fortunate, like you. I grew up with a lot of women in my community that were Deltas. I was a then it was called Del Team. I was a Del Team, and so I just always knew I wanted to be a Delta. And so when I had the opportunity to grad chapter, I was like very excited about it. So yeah, I understand. And same thing when I go back, like even when I went when I go to Payne's homecoming, you know, although I didn't pledge there, I still connect very, you know, easily with the Deltas there. When I went to Voorhees homecoming a couple of years ago, they were supposed to celebrate their 50th last year. But unfortunately, because of COVID, they didn't. But they were including me in things that I said, "Hey, y'all know I didn't pledge here." They were like, "That's okay. We want you to participate." So it is. It's a sisterhood. It is a sisterhood.
That's like our continual celebration on our committee. We have women who, sorority sisters who did not cross at Fisk, but we're like, you're still a part of us. So we welcome everybody who's a member of the sorority and, you know, to participate. So it's and someone said when the whole, you know, the election and Kamala Harris, oh, she's an AKA, and you know, Founders Day, you don't take digs. You know, they were like, the Deltas are saying this. I said, I don't, because at Fisk we didn't take digs at each other. I didn't come about that way where the Deltas were at the AKAs and the AKAs would. No, we didn't take digs at each other. So that's never in my mind. I don't go on social media and post slights and stuff because we were all one big family. And when my suite mates, you know, were online for Delta, I was helping them. I was like, y'all know Greek alphabet. They crossed before me. The Greek alphabet, you got to remember this one, this. You know, we were helping each other. And you need some food, girl, I got you.
Yeah.
Meet me in the bathroom at such and such time. I got you some snacks. I got you some cold. You know, we were helping each other. So I don't believe in the whole taking digs and my sorority, no. Let's all celebrate each other. Yeah.
That was my experience. I initiated fall 1980 Gamma Zeta at Morris Brown College. And my roommate at the time, she was interested in being Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I went Delta. And we helped each other. I pledged first, and she did the same thing. You know, she would sneak me food and make sure I was okay. And then when I went over and she pledged, I did the same thing. But this whole thing about Greekdom, that's a family in itself. I remember passing by on Bobby Jones, and I saw a lady, her car was broke down. And I think she had Zeta on her tag. And I felt deep in my heart that I had to go back and help her because she was not my soror, but she was my Greek sister.
Right.
We're all family. We're all family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I don't like the digs and stuff because I'm like, we're all family. And I'm glad I crossed on a yard where we didn't do that because, you know, we all help each other. Like you said, you know, people are always, you know, saying, oh, you know, the women's suffrage movement, the Deltas, but who got them into the movement? It was an AKA. We all help each other. We all come together. So let's not take digs like that. And Miss Jackie, remember who was Miss Little Zeta Phi Beta? You remember who was that long hair girl?
You're talking about, I was about to say your experience and Sophia. At that time, they called them Zeta Rats.
Zeta Rats.
She became the president of that group. And and when I was in high school with our 5, I was a high school rower. So I knew I was going to be Gamma Rho when I got to Benedict. But when I got there, it was inactive. So I gave up the idea. So Sophia, being a Zeta Ret, went to Tuskegee, came out AKA. And so, I dismissed it because I figured going to school had to work. So I didn't have the opportunity to pledge. But after in my grad chapter, in my graduate years, there were 2 ladies, Miss Queenie Lawton and Miss Janie Millsap.
Yes.
And they encouraged me and sparked my interest in Zeta. And I am so proud to be a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority.
And Mrs. Holmes used to sponsor me for the Little Miss Zeta pageant. We always wanted. I was little Miss Zeta, and I came home. I said, Mrs. Holmes, I'm an AKA. And she said, oh, we all make mistakes. You were supposed to be a Zeta.
You were Miss Blue Review. Miss Blue Review.
Yes.
And Sophie was Miss Blue Review. Both of them.
That's right. Yeah. We were all in that together, and I remember that. And guess who really influenced me to be an AKA? Mrs. Marjorie Carter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember
she couldn't convince my mom to let me to go to Howard like her, because that's why I wanted to go. But she says that's okay. You'll be an AKA and a link.
Yes. Well, you know what? It's funny. My grandmother's neighbor, George Lillian Jenkins, that's who got me in Delta 10 at the time. And that's who was my influence.
She was awesome.
Dee, you remember at Macedonia when we were growing up, most of the women there were Sigma Gamma Rho.
They sure were.
I attended one of their, the Hatleys. Yeah, I went to their convention with them and wrote and won an award, and I had on my yellow and blue, and I said I was going to join Sigma Gamma Rho, and I even have the picture on the back of the picture where I wrote, when I go to college, I'm going to join Sigma Gamma Rho. Yeah. And then when I got to Spelman, it all changed.
That is hilarious.
To think about it, actually, Sora Hadney and Sora Joanne Johnson, they did go to Macedonia. My experience was a little bit differently. I didn't have family who were part of Greek life. So the Sigma Gamma Rhos were on campus. You saw them dressed. At the time, the AKAs and the Deltas weren't on the campus for various reasons. So the lines didn't come back until I think when I did it, it was my senior year. So I, like Ms. Tutt said, I would have loved to have done it earlier, but due to the fact that at first I was a biology student and then went to sociology. So making sure my grades were up to par. But the Sigma Gamma Rhos on campus did, make a difference in my decision. In our chapter was Delta Omicron, and Sora Hadney was Delta Alpha Sigma at the Alumni chapter. So they made a profound impact on my decision.
And I tell you something, of my pain connection, other than Sora Marjorie Carter, Marva Stewart. When my sister and I were little, she would take us and babysit us pretty much. And we were little girls following behind her. And she would say, you will be an AKA. An English major in AKA. And I did it. And so,
Okay, my experience with at that time it was pledging.
Yes, it was.
And I come from a family that didn't know anything about, like I said earlier, about not knowing about college. I didn't know anything about sororities and fraternities and everything until I went to college. At that time, you would have parade across the campus. We were ducks. We don't do that anymore. We were quackers, and we had to do that. Campus, but see, that was the life then. You wanted to be a part of it, so you went with it. I know we wouldn't dare do that now. But I heard these and ladies coming around, and I heard this alphabet song, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and I just love that song. I said, "Whoa, who are these people?" And so I started listening to this. So at that time we had rushes, and we would go to each one of the rushes to figure out what you wanted to do. Most of my friends were AKAs, but and I'm not a groupie, but I wanted to be a part of Delta because it was something that I heard, something that I saw that they were doing that made me want to be a part of them. So I was initiated in the spring of 72.
Oh.
We were the Tempting 10. There were 10 of us. It started out with 30. We wound it down with 10.
Only the strong survive.
Pardon me?
Only the strong survive.
Right. No, the ducks.
The ducks.
But anyway, that's I've been a member of Delta and been working with Delta ever since 72.
You're almost 50 years in.
Yes, almost.
Wow. That
You
is,
know,
I don't look it, do I?
no, you don't. No, that's what we call us in AKA Golden Girls. I said, oh, I'm gonna be a fly Golden Girl when I'm 50 years in.
Well, we're Delta Deers now, so okay. But then, and then at the games, this was also the time when we would have the games. We didn't have a stadium on our campus at that time. We would have to go across town for the games, and it was on a hill. And then the pledgees would walk down this hill with their gear on or whatever, and they were that interested me too, because they would walk so slowly down, and by the time they would get all the way around, in the next group, the Deltas or the AKAs would come down that line, and that excited me. So I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna have to see what's going on with this." So that's how I got to Delta.
Well, that was awesome. 50 years, you're all right there. We have to celebrate, even from other sororities. We got to celebrate you.
Exactly. And then you talk. Thank you.
Yeah.
And talking about digs now, I do joking digs. Like if I see Sherry, I'm sorry, Sherry. If I see Marva, and it might say, well, why do you have on that color or something like that? But it was fun. It was only in fun.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that. It's all in fun. My daughter, who is 7, every time somebody, like I have friends who are AKs and they love to give her pink and green stuff, and they do it until
she looks like a little AK.
She can wear pink. I said she can wear pink and she can wear green, but she cannot wear them at the same time.
No, you can't put the two together. No.
That's like my sister told me, don't come home and there's no red. Don't come home.
But it was fun. It was fun. And also the year 72, that was when Shirley Chisholm was president, and she was on our interstate campus, and we got a chance to walk her across the campus, and I still remember that to this day. So I'm a legend.
Yes, and you've been with legends. That is awesome.
That's right.
Plank says, and he's an Omega. He's a man of Omega Psi. Corey says Omegas could never stay on the yard. MIO was started when he was at Payne. Men interested in Omega. MIO, I did not know that. Trying to get them back on the yard. Yeah, I mean, they're great. You know, we all knew what kind of guy pledged what fraternity or crossed in the fraternities. They had their stereotypes. I always love to tell people, my little cousin Quincy, well, he's a grown man now, he came to my college graduation at Fisk. And, all the Greeks were separated to go to their plots and do the song. That was big at graduation. Well, he was mesmerized by the alphas. And I remember we were looking all over, where's Quincy? Where's Quincy? He was standing and watching the alphas. And they started stepping and singing and chanting. And he became an alpha because of the chapter at Fisk. So as Greeks, we influence people and we don't even realize it.
Dee, you brought up a really good point, because I was going to say the same thing. We've all talked about who influenced us to cause us to go to our particular HBCU or to pledge our organization, because I used to be I was a former debutante advisor for years in the Augusta community, and often I will tell the young ladies, "Okay, ladies, we got to finish our business because I have to go to sorority meeting." Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I had a debutante, a member to come to me and say, "Ms. Copeland, I remember how you used to carry yourselves when you were working with us, and how you used to talk about your sorority." And I would not do it on purpose, but it's because of who I am, and I did not realize who all were looking at me. Mm-hmm. You never know who's looking just by the way you carry yourself.
Well, that was Ella Springs Jones for me with JB.
Absolutely.
I wanted to be like Sora Ella. She's
absolutely
strong. But I also, Dr. Marjorie Carter was. She wasn't as talkative or vocal, but she just had this. Miss Jackie, you remember Marjorie Carter? She just had this beauty about her, and just this elegance and intelligence.
Yes, she was.
My daughter was my daughter Ida Lease was debutante, so she remembers you, Miss Copeland.
I remember your daughter very well. Beautiful woman.
Thank you.
All of these all of these memories and whatnot, and the influences not only on us to choose our HBCU, but our sororities in life and how they made a big impact on us. And so we can never change that. And all we have to do now is to pass it on to the next generation. Thank God I don't have a girl, because yes, she would have big time pressure to be an AKA.
I need to say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did left out, and I have to say this. I met my husband at an HBCU.
Yay! Yeah. I met some good guys at HBCU. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Didn't marry one, but
we're going 36 years strong.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Those HBCU relationships. I know I look at a lot of people who dated in college and they got married, and I look at those strong bonds. And I have to say, I think that the HBCU experience helped that to, solidify and lay a great foundation for those relationships. That is awesome. Anybody else want to say anything? Angela? I know something's on your mind.
I'm good.
Are you sitting there reminiscing?
No, I was actually reading what Corey said. Corey Gibson said, I grew up next door to Wilson and Louise Rice since I was born. I moved Mr. Rice's apartment. He didn't like that, so he took me to the Augusta Omega house. I had no choice.
Oh, that is such a great story. And Dr. Rice was all about his Omega Sci-Fi. He really was. And that's a bit of history. Dr. Louise Rice was a former international president of Delta Sigma Theta. So Augusta has that strong history. Yes, Miss Jackie?
I'd like to also say in behalf of the Deltas that for the first time in history in 2017, Benedict College appointed a female for the first time. Yeah. And she is a Delta. And also one of my mentors and when I was in school at Benedict was Corey's grandmother, Miss Rogers. She worked in the registrar's office. And she was so caring for us. We always said BC, Benedict cares. Well, I hadn't paid my money on time, so I was called out, how they come in the classroom. So I went to the registrar's office, and she was so consoling to me and said, don't worry, honey, don't worry. I know she knew my sister who didn't get paid. She taught school until the end of the month. So after that, I had no trouble being called out of school. So I would go by sometimes and during lunch break and go down to the Pig Trail Inn and pick up lunch for those people who worked in the registrar's office. So those are some memories. And she was a Delta. She is a Delta.
Wow. That is beautiful. See those great connections? That is awesome. Well, it's time for us to wrap up. And when we talk about HBCUs and Greek life, I mean, we could go on and on and on. But anyone have anything they would like to say or share in closing?
I would just like to say that another experience in my memory, I love to go to homecomings. That's the highlight of my time. And we haven't had the opportunity to go to homecomings lately because of the pandemic. But the homecomings are a good treat for me because it seems like you can go back and pick up with your old friends exactly where you left off when you left college. And we are grayer, but then it's fun.
We're just color.
But it's fun. It's fun trying to get, going back and visiting the school and especially going to the football games and listening to the bands. That's a treat for me.
Corey Rogers asked a little while ago, who has the best homecoming?
Morehouse.
Howard has an awesome homecoming. But
Morehouse homecoming is amazing.
That's a good one.
Tailgating is this fun part of going to tailgating.
Yes.
They're all great. There's not one I don't think that's better than the other, but they're all great. Grambling has a phenomenal homecoming. If you have never gone to Grambling's, theirs is awesome as well. TSU, Tennessee State, their homecoming is amazing. So
Yeah.
no.
Fort Valley has an awesome homecoming also.
Which one?
Fort Valley State.
Oh, okay. We have to go.
Yes.
Take my son to check that one out.
Tuskegee homecoming is legendary.
Yes, it is.
Legendary.
What do y'all call the area where everybody sits? What is it called? There's a what do you call that area? I forgot the name.
Under the shed.
The shed. That's right, under the shed.
Gotta go under the shed.
Yes. I'm telling on myself what I used to do in college. Homecoming.
Ours is going on the yard. Get on the yard. And we didn't know anybody's name. We only knew yard names.
That's all. And it's so funny with HBCUs, everybody knows the yard.
Yeah.
It's not the campus, it's the yard.
Right.
Yeah. I came home and I was saying something about the yard. My dad was like, "What yard? Where are you going? What yard? What yard were you on? What yard?" I said, "That's the campus. It's the yard." Yeah. Yeah. But this has been a wonderful experience. And Alana Rouse Scott says South Carolina State University. She loved that one. That's right. That's a good one too. Marva, you can attest to that. South Carolina. And Dee Dee Davis Edwards, she loves South Carolina State. She always talks about their homecomings are legendary as well. Well, we want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day. I like to call these. I know there. Julia Williams just popped on. She said North Carolina A&T has that's right, the G
Earth, yeah.
But I haven't been there yet. JD Gilmore, another one for North Carolina A&T. G-Ho, I need to go there one day. That's on my list to check out. G-Ho, I've got that. But we want to thank everybody. I like to call these lunch and learns because you can take your lunch break and learn something about HBCUs, and it's important for us to continue telling the story. Anyone have one last? Mr. Maine, yes.
Okay, I have one last thing I wrote down on my sheet. Just for the future, I like to leave acronyms. So I just wanted to say to each one of you guys to keep the faith, keep your family important. We're in this month of financial literacy, so encouraging financial literacy to young people, as well as unity, coming together, technology, supporting, giving those young people technology, encouraging them to go into the technical field, cybersecurity, or STEM. Another thing is continue to be unicorns. We all are Black magic. So I just wanted to say that continue to be the unicorn in someone's life, inspiring them, respect yourself, respect others, and to remember to educate and train up our children to be protective citizens.
Powerful.
Yes. So that's what I wanted to leave with all of you guys.
What a great closing. Thank you. And thank you everyone for participating. We are HBCU strong. We are HBCU proud. And we will make sure our HBCUs continue. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss Black, I have a